Hey, today's video will be all about different kinds of omens. Throughout history, it was believed that the future happenings can be foretold by signs influenced by some kind of supernatural power. This belief in the validity of omens played a prominent part in public and private life during classical times. The College of Augurs in Rome dated from the earliest days of the city's history, and it survived until the majesty of the empire had passed away in the 4th century. It was the duty of its members to observe carefully the omens arising from natural causes, as well as those purposely induced by artificial means, and to interpret them on behalf of the rulers who allow themselves to be guided by these interpretations. There is a distinction between augurs and oracles, such as those of Argos, Delphi, and Dodona. An oracle was essentially a place where the god himself, most often Apollo or Jupiter, gave an answer through the mouth of his priest or attended to the anxious questions of his devotees, while omens were drawn mainly from the phenomena of nature and everyday life, such as lightning, animal cries, flight of the birds, or the way in which birds picked up the grains that was spread out for them. The Roman haruspex, which is a name for diviner, based predictions on inspection of entrails of sacrificial animals. The Etruscans were reputed to be particularly expert in interpreting omens in this way, and special conditions were attached to the observing of celestial omens. The augur would go to the highest point of the hill at the midnight, where he had uninterrupted view of the city and its surroundings. Having offered up sacrifice and invoked the guidance of heaven, he seated himself in a tent with his face turned toward the south and waited patiently for the answer of the gods. If the lightning flickered in the east on his left-hand side, it was regarded as an auspicious omen, while if the lightning was seen on the right, it was unfortunate. A somewhat similar practice was observed by the Greeks, although they considered the right side to be lucky and the left unlucky. The science of omens, if you want to call it that, is an empirical one, meaning it is based on observation or experience rather than theory or pure logic. With that being said, here are some of the omens known throughout the history as the most important ones. I would like to say here that the word auspice, which means a divine or prophetic token, a prognostication, is derived from a Latin word meaning an observer of birds. So let us begin with the birds. Now, birds seen on the left, especially dark birds, were seen as an omen of bad luck, according to the tradition established by the Roman augurs. Birds on the right were, of course, a fortunate sign, unless that bird is in herself unlucky, and I shall talk about lucky and unlucky birds in a moment. If the birds are flying from left to right, and that is from the observer's left hand to the right, that was considered fortunate, while birds flying from right to left across one's path was unfortunate. If a bird is flying straight to the observer, that was considered to be a good sign, and if they were flying away, that means the bird will take good fortune with her. The greater the height of the bird's flight is, that was considered to be more favorable and more fortunate. Now, as for some of the lucky birds, they were considered, and maybe still are, a dove, emblem of Venus, then a duck. Hearing a duck indicated prosperity. An eagle, seagull, peacock, pigeon, quail, raven, but only if on the right side. A little robin bird, a stork, was seen as one of the most fortunate birds, as was the swallow. And if he was seen in the early springtime, it was a very fortunate omen. A woodpecker, as seeing one would indicate reward after the patient work. Also wagtails, as they symbolize love and luck, especially if it is walking towards one from the left. Some of the unlucky birds are buzzards, as they would warn the danger is coming from hidden enemies. One or more crows on the left-hand side was considered a definite omen of misfortune. Then a falcon, a hen. Hearing a hen crowing was a warning of serious personal illness. Kite birds indicated financial losses. A single magpie indicated death, while two of these birds were considered very lucky, and good fortune should attend one in 3 days. Owl, especially if one would hear an owl hoot 3 times, that would indicate very bad luck. And if the raven is flying away on the left, bad news are to be expected, and many others. As for some of the animals, a black cat is today considered by many as an unfortunate omen. But throughout history, a black cat was actually a very fortunate omen. as it brings good luck. The same cannot be said about the white cat, as they were seen as bringers of fights and quarrels. Hearing a bat crying indicates bad luck. A dog howling at the moon or outside the house would indicate death in the neighborhood. A rabbit and a hare were seen as bad luck, and their bodies were considered to be inhabited by witches. Goats and ferrets were considered a good omen, as they signify prosperity and gain. Hedgehog is an animal of good omen. A brown or white mouse was seen as lucky, while gray would bring danger. Mule was seen as unfortunate, and an ox as a fortunate omen. A pig was thought of as very unlucky, while a squirrel signified happiness. A lizard was seen as an omen of disappointment. A snake was a sign of treachery and betrayal if it faced the observer, but if she was turned the other way or going away from one, misfortune was directed towards one's enemies. Killing or injuring a toad, my personal favorite, and one day I will make a video dedicated to the frog. Maybe some of you are wondering why the frog. So if anyone would hurt a toad, it would bring lots of worries and anxieties upon the individual. A tortoise was always seen as a very lucky animal, as it brings protection and tranquility. Most fishes were seen as fortunate omens, being a symbol of wealth and fertility. If one would see a large fish swimming by itself, general prosperity and happiness was indicated. If a bee flies near the house, that was considered a good omen. Romans, however, saw the flight of bees as a very ill omen. Crickets were always seen as lucky omens, so if you have them around your house, let them be. Grasshoppers bring good news. Ladybugs bring good fortune. A spider on the clothes is the sign of prosperity, and killing a spider at night is very unfortunate. Some of the lucky plants are four-leaved clover, of course, then honeysuckle, laurel, and an unexpected gift of a rose is a very lucky omen. And unlucky plants, according to the ancients, can be aloe, as when it is in flower brings sorrow and affliction. Fir is a sign of malice. Heather or kaluna, if fading, brings grief of some sort, and many others. Now, as for the human body and the omens, especially moles and birthmarks, they were considered to be impresses upon the body by astrological influences at the moment of birth or upon the embryo at the time of conception. The interpretation of moles and birthmarks depends upon two factors: their actual physical appearance and the part of the individual's body upon which they appear. Physical appearance was determined or is determined by four factors. Its size. In general, it may be said the greater the mark, the greater will be the force of the omen which it indicates, good or bad. Next is the shape. A round mole is considered lucky, and one that is pointed, angular, or straight-sided is unfortunate. Oval mole is moderately fortunate, and the one that is very raised or stands out prominently is considered very fortunate. Next is color. Light colored were considered auspicious, dark colored not so much. And lastly, if the mole or a birthmark has a lot of hairs, that was considered very unfortunate. Long hairs would indicate financial losses, while shorter hair, if any, were considered to bring wealth and prosperity. I will now name a couple of places on the body or body placements for the marks and what they could mean. A mark close or in a navel is considered a very fortunate sign for overall good luck, especially if very small. And mark on the abdomen would indicate lazy, selfish, and greedy disposition. A mole on the right cheek indicates a happy and fortunate marriage. The nearer it is to the mouth, the greater the fortune. Very fortunate are considered those who have a mole on either side of the chin, as it is a sure sign they will be favored by destiny in all their undertakings. A mole on the right foot shows a love of traveling, and if in the same time the individual has a mole on the left foot too, that indicates individual will be able to indulge this passion. A mole alone on the left foot shows a quick intellect and well-developed powers of thought. A mole in the back of one or both hands indicates great natural abilities, as the individual will attain success in life because of his own talents. If it is on the left hand alone, the omen has a slightly less fortunate significance. A mole on the nose, according to some, is considered a very lucky sign, as this person should enjoy success and prosperity, and also frequent changes are indicated. A mole on either side of the shoulders denotes a life of hard work with much adversity. A mole in the front of the neck on the throat is most fortunate sign, and a mole on the wrist indicates a very interesting and successful career. Predicting good or bad weather was always very popular all over the world, especially in the places where livelihood of the inhabitants was determined by the weather, be it good or bad. Now here are some of the old traditional weather omens that have been collected throughout history and some of which I still remember. For the sun, if the sun is covered with haze, bad weather may be expected. If the sun comes out while it is still raining, showers will continue for a few days. A ring around the sun in rainy weather indicates a good weather coming, while a ring around the sun in the fine weather indicates the rain is not far away. And I remember one more about the sun because there was a saying, so if the sun as it rises is pale, long and continuous showers will come. And the saying goes, a red sun in the morning has water in his eye. Now as for the moon, if the moon in good weather is encircled with a single misty ring, rain is coming. An old saying was, the moon with a circle brings water in her beak. In winter months, a clear moon indicates frost. If the full moon rises among clouds and the orb itself is pale, wet weather is to be expected. If the full moon rises red, it is a sign of the wind. The stars can also foretell the weather. So if the stars flicker appearing bigger than usual, storms and wet weather are ahead. If usually small stars cannot be seen at all, wind is about to rise. And if there are many shooting stars seen on a clear night on summer, a long rain is coming. And I think everyone knows this one. If the sky in the west is red in the sunset, fine weather is to be expected tomorrow. Also, a red sky at sunrise in summer means heavy rain and a fair amount of wind, and in winter it indicates the rain will fall entire day. Animals are universally regarded as providing reliable indications of approaching changes in the weather. And spiders are particularly accurate little weather prophets and regulate the building of their webs to suit the weather from day to day or even from hour to hour. When they are convinced that the weather will be good, they actively build, extending their webs in all directions. But when rain and storms are coming, they confine their operations to strengthening and securing their base. If spiders begin to alter or rebuild their webs in the evening hours, a calm and clear night is indicated. If they begin to build in the morning, the day will be sunny. But if they break their webs and take refuge under the leaves or in the crevices, the weather will be bad. If there are many bats flying around, that indicates a nice day tomorrow. And when bees seem to be reluctant to leave the hive, rain is to be expected very soon. When there are frogs to be seen, rain is to be expected. If birds become silent, thunderstorm is probably coming soon. Plants are also known to foretell good or bad weather, so for example, leaves of the clover will be seen closely together before thunder and rain, or when the scent of the flowers seems stronger and heavier than usual, it is also a sign of approaching rain. And here are some of the general omens or superstitions, if you want to call them that. If the head of the bed is placed towards the north, it indicates short life. Towards the south, a long life. To the east, riches, and to the west, travels. If a front door does not face the street, bad luck attends the house, and you should always close a front door with your face towards it. When eating a fish, you should begin at the tail and work towards the head. It is considered unlucky to give a pair of gloves to a friend unless you receive something in exchange. If, after leaving a house, you must turn back to take something, you must sit down when you get indoors and count backwards from 7 to avoid bad luck. It is considered unlucky to move into a new house during the months of April, July, and November. Dropping matches is considered to be a very good sign. It was considered unlucky to see the new moon for the first time through the glass, and when you see the new moon, you should turn to it anything silver you may have to the moon, as that brings prosperity for the month. Very unlucky is to put on the left shoe before the right one, and it is even worse to put the right shoe on the left foot or vice versa. This belief actually dates from classical days, and it is related to the fact that Emperor Augustus nearly lost his life at the hands of assassins after putting his sandals on the wrong feet. Let's see, what else can I tell you for the end, and you might even try it and see if it works. I know one. There is an old spell which was once thought to be very reliable and influencing one's luck regarding money. So in order for this magical charm to work, it was necessary to pick a rainy day and then go to a place where there was a holy bush. You should clasp it around the main stem and chant 3 times, "Holy tree, oh holy tree, let much wealth come to me." And I shall put this somewhere on the screen so you can try it if you like, and then let me know if it works. That would be awesome. And this is it for today. I hope you liked today's video. I rather enjoy reading about and researching stuff like this, so I thought it might be fun for you too. A quote for today is by George Santayana, as he was known in English language. He was a Spanish-American philosopher, essayist, poet, and novelist, and even though his most famous saying, I think, is "those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it," you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that is not a quote for today. Quote I have chosen goes like this: "Our character is an omen of our destiny, and the more integrity we have and keep, the simpler and nobler that destiny is likely to be." In my next video, I will go back to astrology a bit, and it should be a fun one. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know about some of the omens and superstitions you may know of, and I will be seeing you in a couple of days. Bye!